Greetings. Can you believe it? It's the last day of Black History Month, February 29th. COMTO family, I am Tanya Adams, board chair for the Conference of Minority Transportation Officials. I also serve as the Senior Vice President of Inclusion and Diversity for WSP US. I want to warmly welcome you to our fourth edition of COMTO Chairs Leadership Chats. My guest today is a dear friend, Ms. Sharon Jean-Baptiste, Vice President, America's East Strategic Growth and Delivery at Jacobs. In this role, Sharon focuses on business portfolio growth, broad industry impact, client relations, and national partnerships for Jacobs. Sharon has been with Jacobs for over 16 years and contributes to the industry through leadership roles in several technical advocacy organizations, such as COMTO, WTS, NSB, ACEC, and IRTBA. I'm so excited about this conversation. I have the privilege of knowing Sharon and calling her my friend, but I want all of you to get to know a little bit about Sharon and her role at Jacobs. Welcome, Sharon.
Good morning and afternoon. Thanks so much, Tanya. Really appreciate being included in this series. It's been such an impactful set of conversations, and so it's an honor to be here and spend time with the COMTO family. So thank you again for including me, and I always love chatting with you. You're one of my favorite people, as you know. So I really appreciate you and your leadership. So I guess a little bit about me. Some folks know, but don't know, I was actually born and raised in Montreal, Canada, of Caribbean parents. And I earned my Bachelor of Engineering in Civil Engineering at McGill University. And then I went on to get my Master's of Science in Water Resources Engineering, and then earned an MBA a few years after that. So I grew up in the water industry. And was focused on supporting clients with their biggest water quality challenges, including exploring policy, right, that would help us to better create solutions that integrated water, wastewater, and stormwater management and put communities first at the center of solution making. So I had the opportunity to work really across the country as well as internationally doing this type of work. I think one of my favorite projects and so the most close and dear to me was the work that we did in Haiti with USAID shortly after the earthquake. And so just the opportunity to take what I had learned over my career and apply it in areas that housed folks that were representative of me and my background and where I came from was hugely powerful. And so I've grown up in this sort of programmatic, triple bottom line equity lens. And a few years ago, through that, was drawn to transportation. And it started with aviation when I moved to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and worked on the capital program there with Shelley Cameron and Mark and others. And just fell in love with the sector. I fell in love with aviation. I fell in love with the opportunity to impact communities, right? In the same way that water did, and having clean, accessible water, same with transportation. Fell in love with that concept of transforming communities through transportation. And so that's how I stumbled into COMTO a few years back. As a result of that, Tom Donahue dragged me to my first COMTO conference in Detroit, and I haven't looked back ever since. But, after almost 25 years in the infrastructure industry now, and 16 of them being at Jacobs, CH2M, and living in 6 different cities over that time, right? I've really been blessed with such an impactful and rewarding career adventure, working with amazing clients and teammates and playing a part in influencing our industry, right? How we come together and how we deliver on behalf of our communities. And it's allowed me to grow not only as a professional, right, an engineering professional, but really frankly, also as a human being and a leader. So I've had a great journey and a great set of opportunities to really grow and develop. And in my current role at Jacobs, it sort of is a nice culmination of a lot of things that I've done. I serve now in a new regional strategic capacity for our business leaders at our companies. And it's an exciting time for our company and the industry, right? We're all transforming, right? And trying to figure out how to better meet the needs of our communities and our stakeholders. And so I get the opportunity to partner with our regional operations and sales and technology teams to bring my background in strategic planning, business development, right, program development, people leadership, culture building, right, so important during times of transformation, and partner with these leaders to really accelerate the progress that we want to see when it comes to operating more efficiently together, right? Growing, not just for growth's sake, but doing it in a way that's profitable and sustainable. And then really showing up in the way that we need to in the marketplace for our clients, but also our partners that we work with. So it's a pretty exciting time. I'm really excited about the opportunity and looking forward to some of the things that we'll achieve together.
Most definitely. I know your parents have to be proud of the fact of your project in Haiti. It's always good to be able to go back to an area that's close and similar to home and do something that's lasting. So congratulations for doing that. And I knew that you were all over the country at one time, living and moving. So kudos to you. And I'm always just so honored to be around you for all the things that you're doing. And not because of business sense, because it makes good sense. So thank you, Sharon.
Appreciate it.
So how would you say that your lived experience contributes to the perspective that guides the work that you do each and every day?
Yeah, so so I grew up like I said, in a West Indian Caribbean household, right? And you grow up with sort of this fearlessness within you as a result of that. And both my parents were immigrants to Canada, right? And so they made their way, right? They did what they had to do and they made their way. And so in my upbringing, there was a lot of, go for what you want, right? Work hard for what you want. For me, I was around a lot of diverse perspectives, right? Different languages, different countries, cultures, etc. And so I grew up viewing the world in this way, right? That it was not a homogeneous type of world. And that if you really wanted to figure out not only what the solution ought to be, but what the problem is you're actually trying to solve, and defining that problem, you really need diverse perspectives around the table. And I took that with me through college and then through my working career. I also grew up as an only child. And so I have very low tolerance for bullies and all that, right? Folks may call me spoiled if they want, but for me, it's always been about fighting for others, right? It's always been about that for me. And I was blessed to have, right? And so for me, it's ensuring that others have the opportunity to have, whether it's a voice or whether it's empowerment, whatever it may be. And so that shapes a lot of what I do every day, the need to bring those different perspectives to the table, to really, because I'm often, the only one in the room, right? And a lot of us face that, right?
Yes.
Even still today, that I've got to be able to speak up, have that courage and that bravery to speak up and ask the right questions, right? Not ask for asking sake, but to drive us to a result, right? Who else ought to be here to give us some better insight, right? Or a better perspective on what we're trying to solve here. So it's up to me and to us that are in those rooms to be able to do that. Sometimes it's not easy, for sure. But we've got to push past that and be the one to speak up. And oftentimes you'll get pulled to the side and someone will say, thanks for asking that, or thanks for saying that, right? And so being the brave one in the room, I think, empowers others, right, to speak up and join in and to really support that position. Advocating for others, like I said, whether you're talking about a project need, whether you're talking about cultural needs within your organization, right? And creating a platform for folks to have equal voice within the company, or, with the work COMTO does around legislative priorities and advancing progress around innovation and technology and education and that sort of thing. I think that shapes a lot of how I approach what I do every day. I chose engineering because I felt it was an avenue for me to do that, to advocate, to create solutions that really made a difference in people's lives.
It's interesting that you said you were the only child. I'm one of 7 and I'm the youngest. And I thought I always had to have a voice because, everyone else is so loud that I need to step up to be heard. So it's great to hear that other perspective. But
Yes.
also being from a father who was born in 1917, who said you have to try, find what you love, try and make mistakes, and it's okay.
Ooh, that's right.
And to make sure that we're serving and we're doing good in the communities we work in. But the other part, I love running into you at events, because we know it's a small number of us.
Yeah.
And I know that you're always going to ask that question I may be thinking of, but I could pull off of, and vice versa. So
Right.
thank you for always being present.
Yes, yes.
Yes. With that being said, Jacobs is always leading those courageous conversations and even launched its action plan for advancing justice and equity in 2020.
Mm.
Thank you, Jacobs. At COMTO, we call our members equity champions. So personally, and from a Jacobs perspective, how do you continue to address equity for underrepresented, especially as we reflect on the 60 years of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, again, which is an amazing year.
What an amazing milestone. It's incredible to think about, yes, all the progress that we've made, certainly, but how much more, right, we need to do and how much further we need to advance. Just looking at the attacks on our MWDBE programs, for example, right? And it's equitable access. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day, right? The access is not equitable. And so I think, from a Jacobs perspective, when we launched the action plan, it was an example, I think, of using a national platform to voice and stand for what's right in this space. And in some cases, like we talked about, showing others that it's okay to do so as well, right? And I think the plan also provided an avenue for a cross-section of our employees, right, from different backgrounds, experience levels, et cetera, to come together and voice their concerns to our executive leadership, right, and really create the space for shaping a picture of what equity looks like, right, at our company and then within the company and within the communities that we serve. So there's tremendous opportunity, I think, for us to, as an individual company, as part of a collective such as COMTO, right, to continue to have those courageous conversations, right? It is never out of style. I'll put it that way, right? It's always important to keep the conversation going, to advance the conversation, and for us to get more sophisticated, right, about how we think about equal rights, at the end of the day. And there's coalition building opportunities, right, with different communities, other underrepresented groups, right? And so we've got sort of that power in the collective voice that I think we can leverage more and more. And when I think of the word champion or even ally, right, that means you're putting your credibility, your stock on the line for others, right? And so that's high stakes stuff, right? Again, it's not just a banner, it's not just a pin that you wear. It's a high stakes game, right? And companies like ours, we have local, regional, and national platforms, right, to be able to do this, right? And so it's not just our CEO maybe speaking out, but it's some of our local leaders speaking out as well, right? And we've seen great movement in thinking about, okay, how do we really get to know our communities better? How do we spend time in our communities, right? It's easy to write a check. It's easy to write a check. right? But how do we really get into the community, spend time with the community, appreciate, if you will, the context, history of their today, right? Why are things the way they are today? And be able to really take that into account and connect on a much deeper level with our communities, right? And then it doesn't become about group designations or whatnot. It becomes about the circumstance, right? And this is a circumstance that we're trying to improve, right? We think about in the way that we challenge our teams and our clients, again, with the right questions. You got to ask the right questions, right? Who else needs to be in the room? Who else needs to be included? How are we actually measuring that we're making progress, right? So it's asking those right questions so you start to put in motion the methods and the processes that allow us to say, we're doing better, we're making a difference, right? And again, it's not just rhetoric and a story, but we're actually putting some proof points behind it, some results behind it. And then I think in the way that we include the community, our engagement approaches have to evolve. They have to evolve. They have to be customized, bespoke, and they have to go deeper into what's really at the root of opportunities to improve our communities. And we have to go deeper on our procurement priorities and really think more intentionally about workforce development and diverse business capacity building, right? And really ensure that the community is included in identifying the problem and in developing the solution. So I think we've got a lot of great opportunities as we start to think about what's the next 60 years going to look like in this country from an equal rights standpoint. And we all have a part to play in that. We all have a part to play.
I mean, just listening to you, you hit on some key things. It's easy to write a check,
Yeah.
but it's what we do. And the fact that the community has to be involved at the very beginning, not in the middle at the end, but from the beginning to the end, because this is their area. And the fact that those conversations have to be had. And without that, we're not going to have the equitable access. So thank Jacobs for, being one of the leaders, in this, and thank you for your passion, dedication, because that goes a long way with it to making sure that voices are heard across the board. And again, for another 60 years. So in 2022, you were honored with the Career Advancement Award at the Women of Color STEM. Congratulations. How can we inspire that next generation to consider careers in transportation and ensure they rise to leadership roles?
Yeah, great question. And thanks for that. I didn't think I was that old to get a career achievement award, but blessed for the honor and the opportunity really to tell my story right at the end of the day. And I think how we inspire the next generation. They need to hear our stories. They need to hear our stories. We need to increase the awareness that we exist, right? And get out there in those non-traditional spaces, if you will, to tell that story. Creating some good visibility for the folks that are really making a difference in our industry, right? And changing that narrative. Making, quite frankly, our sector sexy again, right? It was sexy to be a train conductor, right? It was sexy to, do all these other things. And I think the narrative has gone in a direction that says our sector is not progressive, that our sector is not innovative, and that's just the opposite. We're seeing it's just the opposite, right? And we're leading in areas that, relate to decarbonization, for example, and we're leading in areas that talk about climate response and electric vehicles and all this other thing that's happening that's going to shape the way we move people and goods, right? We got to change the narrative. We got to start talking about the ways that we are changing communities and transforming communities. And especially as I talk to young people today, they want to be connected to something, right? They want to have their heart in it. And to me, the passion to be able to change lives through transportation and really be a means to advocate for the underinvested, presents an opportunity to talk about what we do differently every single day. And I think we have an opportunity to to leverage partnerships with other organizations that are, really well established, whether it's, NSBE or organizations like Girls Inc. and Junior Achievement, right? But organizations that are committed to building strong leaders, right? They're already there. What an opportunity to open the aperture, right, for careers in transportation or infrastructure and show, look, this is another way you can change the world.
I like that part about telling our stories.
Yeah,
Sometimes we allow other people to tell our story, and it may not be our story,
that's
but
right.
for us to be able to tell it.
That's right.
And definitely to the younger generation, to show them where they can be and what they can do. And it's, transportation is such a big field, and it encompasses everything from lawyers to marketing to English to communications, to be a part of it, to make sure that we have access for everyone and everyone's participating in it.
Yeah,
And
and we
I am
need their ideas. We need their ideas.
definitely, because times are changing. We need that
Yes.
creativity on
Yeah.
how we go after and what we go after and what we do. And I think it's essential. And we need to bring our young people on in advance to show them this industry and
Yeah.
where they play a part at. I know I stepped into this by accident and decided I didn't want another young person to step into transportation.
Mhm.
It's ours, and there's enough for all of us to be a part of it.
That's right.
Yeah, I got to thank Jacobs. You guys have been a long time industry partner of COMTO. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for my immediate past chair as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
Let's talk about the importance of partnership as we work to advance equity in transportation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad that Jacobs is a longtime supporter as well, because then I got to get to know COMTO through that relationship. And there's no other like COMTO, period, right? There's no other like COMTO. And I think the opportunity there is true partnership, right? At the end of the day. And, partnership to me is an exchange of, right? So it's an exchange of ideas and resources and action, right? More than anything, it's action, right? And I think the value is in the ability to act for change, right? And I think that's what's, made this partnership work so well, and have such longevity, right? Is that we're all moving in the same direction to make change in the industry. And it's been great to have a space to honor our Jacobs colleagues, participate in shaping future leaders in the industry, whether it's through the city intern program or other efforts there. And it's been a really unique platform to advocate, right? At the end of the day, right? COMTO does advocacy well. And that's not just at the national levels, but the local levels as well, right? Through our chapters. And the chapters are really the engine of the organization, right? So again, the opportunity to really get involved, not just nationally, but locally as well, is hugely valuable. It's hugely valuable. And I think the space that you all create for public and private sector to connect and collaborate is so important, right? Because we're facing these most important issues together as an industry, and that's unparalleled. You don't see that very often. So I think we're very mission aligned in that regard. And as I said, COMTO is about making change. And I think we're aligned very, very much in that aspect, and realizing that we've got to leave this world better than when we met it.
Most definitely.
Yep.
I think you hit it again with the pulse. Our chapters are the pulse of national. Without our chapters, we would not be existing. And the work that they do in each of the communities that they have chapters at, it's amazing. And we're growing. Every time I turn around, we have another chapter growing with, and that's a wonderful thing. I just want to say thank you. It's the last day of Black History Month, but Black History is 365 days a year. And it's my honor to end this series right now with, you, my good friend. Thank you so much. I don't know when we met. It seems like I've known you all my life. So, COMTO would like to thank you. And thank Jacobs for the support. Everyone, I'm going to say thank you, Ms. Sharon Jean-Baptiste, Vice President of American East Strategic Growth and Delivery at Jacobs. You can watch this episode and the whole series of leadership chats on YouTube. Just search COMTO National. And you can learn more about the Conference of Minority Transportation Officials at comto.org. Thank you for watching, everyone. Have an amazing Thursday. And with that, everyone, goodbye.
Thank you.